Okay, so after you make these diagonals, you need to determine how you can finish the boxes. Edge boxes don't actually need to be finished because the diagonals just extend out the edge of the paper, but any internal boxes do need to be finished or enclosed. You can't just have a diagonal line that randomly stops in the paper. You can't just have a diagonal that goes from here to here and then stops. It has to enclose itself into a box somehow. So that is what I did instead of this. If I were to have just one big square here, I would have one enormous appendage sticking right out the center of the beetle's back, and I didn't want that. However, or rather what I decided to do with this was to have two appendages sticking out the beetle's back. That way I could lay them down, one laying down backwards, one laying down forwards. I'll fold it in a minute and explain what I mean. But anyway, the point is you need to have all internal boxes need to be enclosed. You can't just make half or 3/4 of a box and leave it like that, because it doesn't work like that. Okay. So, oh, and these squares up here indicate, what the heck? Phone's buzzing. So, some unicorn is calling me. Alright, never mind. So, where was I? Okay. After you have done all this, make sure you have one unit in between this circle or box and this circle. And that is going to be the one unit in between each, the back leg and the middle leg. Because remember, up here we had this 4-unit leg and this 3-unit leg, and then there was going to be a 1-unit space in between. So that is right here, which is this box. Don't confuse these boxes with these boxes. Sorry, I'm going to refer to these as squares instead. I should have done that earlier. Sorry about that, if that caused any confusion. Okay, and this square... yes, this square here is right here. And this square of length 2 is right in here. So there will be 2 units in between the front leg and the antenna and the head. And I'll fold that through in just a minute on here and explain that further. Okay. Then you take the numbers that you've previously assigned. So here I had 3, 3, 3, and 4 for the lengths of each leg. So this leg is 3, this leg's 3, this back leg is 4. You take all these numbers and you multiply them by 2 or by 3 or 4 or whatever you want, because these are not actually unit numbers, they're just proportion numbers. So this length 3, this is 3 units compared to this length 2, which is 2 units in comparison with these 2 lengths, each 1. So like this leg is 3 units in comparison with the back leg, which is 4, and so on and so forth. So what you do is multiply each one of these numbers by 2 or 3 or 4, or however many divisions you want to make of your final square. I believe for this one I did 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, I have a 30 by 30 division, so I multiplied each one of these numbers by 2. So the final length of this section became 6, this section became 4, 2, and 2. Okay, here is the crease pattern. This is what we've been working with, and it's symmetrical over the center line. The two outer creases are mountain folds, and the center line is also a mountain fold. This is a 30 by 30 division. Okay. The reason I put one extra unit out here, or the reason this diagonal line and this diagonal line don't extend to the corner, is because I had more units up and down than I did right to left. Crap, it's that unicorn again. Alright, moving on. I had 30 units up and down and only 28 right to left. So what I did is I just added an extra unit on each side to make it an even 30 by 30 square. Okay, so this is the front leg, middle leg, hind leg, abdomen. In here, actually I'm going to go ahead and draw this in. Oh, you aren't supposed to see that. Top secret. So we will have an appendage . Vertical creases are going like this, and the horizontal creases only occur within the diagonal lines or within the boxes. And don't worry about these circles, those aren't actually folds, that's just a notation when drawing crease patterns, so that you know where each appendage is located and how long it's going to be. So let's fold this. If I have any internal boxes, I do those last. So I do the top section and the bottom section first, and then I go back and do the internal stuff. You might think it's easier to do the internal boxes first, but it's just personal preference, so do what works for you. So I have the two front legs, two antennae, and the head. You flip it around and do the hind legs. And then stretch it out a little bit and put in the horizontal creases that are formed by the diagonal lines. So the horizontal creases within the boxes. This is going to take a while. Okay, so what you end up with is something that looks kind of like this. What we're going to do is invert this point, and we'll have another point kind of like this right up here as soon as I get this pushed together. There we go. So the way to get rid of that is to push these down the other way, and then you'll see that the whole model wants to fold itself in half, like this. So if you look at it from the side, you can see these are the two extra appendages that I had to create right here, or here. If I had just continued these lines out and made one big box, I would have one long appendage right out the middle, and I didn't want that. I thought it would look strange. Okay, so after you have this completely collapsed, I think this is some of my old homework actually. It's from a long time ago. Anyways, collapse this and move the appendages into the correct form, or any form will work. I'm assuming at this point you can see where this is going. We have the tail, or the abdomen, and the two back legs, the two middle legs, and the two front legs. Two antennae, one here, and a head. And there we go. That is roughly the same thing that we had over here. So now you just need to create the joints in the legs and maybe widen the body just a little bit, thin out the antenna, and that should be about it. That will be the beetle. Oh, and this thing back here, what ended up happening was this extra appendage that I created, which was this one, ended up being about the right length for a beetle. So what you could do with this one is just fold it underneath, like that, and it would probably look just fine. Or, well, yeah. Or you could go back and in your crease pattern, maybe make this two appendages and just make them a little bit shorter, and then they'll just get hidden underneath the body of the beetle. Okay, so that is box pleating design in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it, but that's the basics. Is there anything else? I think that's it. Yeah, once again, the best way to get good at this is to just find crease patterns and pictures of the finished model, and then just fold the crease pattern until it gets to be about the same form as the finished product. Like this looks great as say the skeleton for a beetle, but it's not going to really look like it until you bend the legs and maybe pull some layers out of here to widen the body a little bit, like that, and make it a little rounded, and then thin out the antenna, and maybe do some details on the head. But that is the basic crease pattern for the beetle. So just do that with any other crease pattern you can get your hands on that doesn't look insanely complicated. I would not suggest trying any of Robert Lang's or Jason Koo. No, he's fine. Brian Chan, don't try any of Brian Chan's work just yet, because his stuff is absolutely insane. I try to avoid that complexity whenever possible. But but the finished product always looks pretty good. It's just insanely difficult to get there. Alright, that is it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this helped.